Welcome back to Free Football. I'm Free. Let's talk football. It is late September. Fall is finally starting, and you're about to see some power rankings that nobody has the guts to make. Like I said in the last episode, we're going based off the eye test. We are taking into consideration some injuries, some roster construction, but this is what football looks like with eyes that know football. I'm not afraid to be harsh here, and I'm not afraid to hand out praise for teams that definitely deserve it to this point. No matter what we thought about these teams at the start of the season, here's how I'm ranking all 32 NFL teams in the power rankings this week heading into week 4. And we got to start with the worst of them all. 32 is the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis, man, you cannot win the game if you can't hold on to the ball. Through 3 games, he has 8 turnovers, 5 interceptions, and 3 fumbles. What are we doing, man? Bad in Tennessee. And number 31, I'm going to put their division mates here, the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you watched the Monday Night Football game last night against the Bills, that offense looks broken. It's looked broken since the start of the season. The defense looks fine. It can keep them in games if both teams score under 20. There's something seriously wrong with the Jags, and they need to get it figured out here pretty quickly because they should not be this bad. Number 30, it's our old friend, the Cleveland Browns. Let me just throw out some Deshaun Watson stats here to paint a picture for you. 551 passing yards is among the worst in the league for full-time starters. 57.8% completion percentage is like 2 percentage points above Bryce Young. 71.4 passer rating is really bad. And 16 sacks is the worst in the league. Deshaun Watson's not good at football. And the Cleveland Browns are fucked for a long time. Go find me a guy with more egg on his face than Jimmy Haslam. At number 29, I'm going with the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders, after having a late comeback against the Ravens, are a bit of an enigma. You know, for a second, it looked like they might be a good football team, and then they got destroyed by the Carolina Panthers. The offense is not moving well. The defense is not playing particularly well, and it looks like Antonio Pierce already wants to shake things up. Not good in Vegas. At 28, we have the Chicago Bears. You know, kudos to Caleb Williams for finally coming alive on offense toward the end of the game there. The offensive line still looks terrible. They don't have a run game to speak of. The defense has shown flashes, but it's not enough to get wins or do much in this league. And then at number 27, we're going to go with their opponents from the other day, the Indianapolis Colts. Listen, I love the potential of Anthony Richardson. I have him as a dynasty quarterback in my fantasy league, but he's playing some of the worst quarterback I've seen in years. He's making some passes that no NFL quarterback should make, and his decision making looks pretty terrible. That being said, the run game looks good. The defense did enough to get by, but Anthony Richardson is probably one of the biggest projects at quarterback that I've seen in quite some time, and he's going to need all the help he can get. 26, the New England Patriots. The lack of offense was big time on display on Thursday night. The Patriots have gotten by this point with some good defensive play. That wasn't going to happen on the road at GetLife Stadium. They're going to be a bottom quarter team probably all season. 25, the Denver Broncos. Bo Nix getting his first win the other day against the Buccaneers, which I guess turned out to be a trap game for the Bucs. The offense finally looked good. Bo Nix got it going. He proved that he can be confident and accurate and mobile, and we saw that defense come on at the end of last season. They look good as well. They can keep them in games. The Broncos could, move up from here. They're nothing special, but at least we saw something from them. If you ever wonder why you need a good quarterback in the league, look to the number 24 team, the Miami Dolphins. Losing their $200 million quarterback has not been great. The Dolphins looked like garbage without Tua. Tyreek Hill didn't do anything. Devon Achane struggled. The Dolphins defense is fine and can keep them in games, I guess, but if you don't have a quarterback that can actually put up points, I mean, what are we going to do here? You can say what you want about Tua as a football player, but it's very clear this team needs him. It's very clear the offense works with his skill set and the players that they have around him. And without him, I think they're going to struggle to get a single win. 23, we have the New York Giants. Malik Neighbors is him. He has the second most receptions in the league and the most targets in the league through 3 weeks. The Giants pieced it together this offseason, but they can get moving with the pieces they have and the moves they've made. And obviously consider the opponent the other day, but they did really well against the Browns, and they sacked Deshaun Watson, 7 times? The defense can keep them in games, and the offense can get moving. We could see some upward movement from the Giants. At number 22, the Carolina Panthers. It's amazing what can happen when you have an adult playing quarterback. I'll just say this. I feel like there's a real lack of quality quarterback play across the NFL. I feel like we took for granted in my childhood days the era of the Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, Carson Palmer, Matthew Stafford, Joe Flacco. I feel like we took a lot of those guys for granted. There was so many good quarterbacks playing all at once that it kind of saturated the product and we had to choose who was better than who. And I think we're really seeing it now, that quarterback play is not as good as it was 15 years ago or 10 years ago. So I don't have anything personal against Bryce Young, and I would love to see him in a new place, succeed, get a fresh start, get his confidence back, and be a great quarterback in this league. There's a lot of credible people who seem to think he can be a good quarterback, but when your backup comes in and does exponentially more than you ever have in 18 career starts, when Deontay Johnson looks like he's heading for the Hall of Fame with your backup, this is an indictment on Bryce Young as much as anything. But now that the Panthers are going to be led by Andy Dalton, hopefully for the rest of the season, Panthers fans finally have something they've been looking for a long time: hope. I'm going to lump these next two together. At 21, we have the Atlanta Falcons, and at 20, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. And the reason we're lumping them together is very similar stories. They're both kind of good teams who can stay in close games with other good teams, but they struggle to finish. 19, we're going with the Los Angeles Chargers. They could be without Justin Herbert for a little bit as he re-aggravated his ankle injury. The weapons on offense are kind of ambiguous still, and the lack of offensive firepower is a little concerning. They land at 19. Number 18, the Dallas Cowboys. You know, they're talented, but they don't look good right now. They used to be unstoppable and amazing at home, and now they are pushovers. And this will really sting the Cowboys fans because at 17, I have the Washington Commanders. I am big on admitting when I was wrong and also keeping receipts. So do you guys remember when I said this in the last power rankings? And unless the Commanders can average 30 points per game on offense, they're not going to really win many football games this year. Turns out Jaden Daniels is really good at keeping drives alive and moving the offense and scoring points. So maybe they will average 30 a game. Number 16, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs land right in the middle. I have a feeling this was a blip on the radar against a Broncos team that got hot, got an early lead, and looked competent. I just feel like the Bucs got behind early and got their game plan kind of turned upside down. We know the Broncos defense can be solid when they need to, or, you know, at certain times. I'm not super worried about the Bucs. I have a feeling they'll get it going again, but yeah, just a tough week. Speaking of tough weeks, number 15, the New Orleans Saints. You know, the one thing I noticed from the Saints is that if you take away the run, which the Eagles did, the Saints are going to struggle. Derek Carr was pressured a lot. He only completed 56% of his passes. I will say I'm still impressed by the Saints defense. They're playing hard. They're playing fast. They're playing with great effort, executing well. That defense is going to keep them in games and keep them winning. The Saints have what it takes to potentially be a playoff team, but the Eagles did unlock a little bit of a blueprint on how to beat them. Number 14, the New York Jets. I still feel like the Jets should be doing more on offense. Seem to be lacking a little bit of firepower. They have great weapons. Braylon Allen's been amazing. Mike Williams is still working his way back from injury. They haven't even unlocked Malachi Corley yet. I have a feeling if we give the Jets some time, they could get humming, but it's starting to get to a point where it's like, okay, let's actually see it. Number 13, the Baltimore Ravens. They need to learn how to close out football games. It's getting ridiculous. Like, objectively, I get that the Ravens are a good football team. Everyone wants to put them in the top 8, top 5 of, oh, you don't want to mess with this team. That's all fair. I get it. But let's close out a fourth quarter. This has been going on for years, man. I cannot believe that they almost let the Cowboys win that game when they were up 22 in the fourth. The Ravens would be much higher if they could put together 4 quarters consecutively. Number 12, the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals obviously looked great in week 2, destroying the Rams, and since then they've hung tight with good opponents. The offense needs to move a little more, but the defense has been playing a lot better than I expected. Number 11, the undefeated Seattle Seahawks. It's just a solid unit. They just keep winning. They're playing good offensively, they're playing good defensively, and they just find a way to win. I'm not super impressed with them, but I gotta give them props for just winning. Number 10, the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel like the Eagles should be better than what they're showing right now, but they're still good enough to win. It's similar vibes to last year when they were just getting by and just kept winning. Might not feel good for Eagles fans to hear that, but it's just kind of the reality of it. They also need to get healthy because both of their top receivers have some questionable tags heading into week 4. Number 9, we're going with the Houston Texans. I feel like this offense should be much better with the amount of weapons they have, and I'm starting to think the defense might not be as good as we thought it would be. The Texans had 2 close wins against some pretty bad opponents and then get destroyed on the road against the Vikings. Still some stuff to figure out there. Number 8, the Los Angeles Rams. I think the Rams are playing incredible for the amount of injuries that they have. I was rewatching the highlights and I saw them down 7 with 3 minutes to go, and I was wondering how they won the game in regulation, even though I saw it on Sunday with my eyeballs. You can blame the Niners for some late game misexecution, but you also have to credit the Rams for just having a great close to that game. Number 7, we're going with the Green Bay Packers. You know, sometimes you're wrong in the NFL. Sometimes you have horrible takes, and my take on Malik Willis I think was fitting at the time, but he fits this system, and that's just how it goes sometimes. Look at Sam Darnold, who failed everywhere he went. Look how good he's fitting in Minnesota right now. Look at how good Baker Mayfield's doing after he was jettisoned from Cleveland and Carolina and did not re-sign with the Rams. Look how good Justin Fields is doing with the Pittsburgh Steelers under Arthur Smith's offense. It happens. And Malik Willis fits this system, and I think you cannot give enough kudos to Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay coaching staff for keeping this team afloat and thriving while Jordan Love is injured. Number 6, the aforementioned Justin Fields and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Probably a top 2 or 3 defensive unit in the league easily, and I feel like Justin Fields is managing games about as good as anybody in the league. 1 interception through 3 weeks, completing 73.3% of his passes and a passer rating of 95.3 and no lost fumbles. All career best to this point. Number 5, we're going with the Detroit Lions. Aiden Hutchinson definitely making a case for Defensive Player of the Year with a league lead 6.5 sacks so far. Jared Goff looked much better on Sunday compared to how he looked against the Buccaneers, and the Lions' young secondary continues to blossom and looked very good in the second half against the Cardinals. Number 4, the San Francisco 49ers. Niners may have a ton of injuries, but they're still a really talented unit with a phenomenal coaching staff. Brock Purdy looked incredible on Sunday, even though they lost. And if you haven't seen the last-minute pitch fest from the Niners to try to beat the Rams on Sunday's game, you should definitely go take a look. It was very close, and I feel like the Niners deserve some credit there too. They may be 1-2, but they're still a really top team in this league, and I feel like when they get healthy, they're going to show people that. Number 3, I can't believe I'm saying it. I can't believe I'm looking at you right now, but it's the Minnesota Vikings. It's not a joke. It's the Minnesota Vikings. I feel like anybody that's not putting them this high is just ignoring what they see with their eyes. Like watching a Vikings game, it feels like they haven't made a mistake all year. I feel like they're executing at an extremely high level, both offensively and defensively. They're without Jordan Addison, and it feels like they haven't skipped a beat. Jalen Naylor's coming out of nowhere, and it looks like a great receiver. Justin Jefferson's still doing his thing. Sam Darnold looks like a new man at quarterback. They got 2 really good running backs in Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler. Tight end Johnny Munt isn't even the starter. They're still waiting on TJ Hawkinson to come back. And Brian Flores is doing a tremendous job with this Vikings defense. You blow out the New York Giants, you have a stranglehold on most of the game against the 49ers, and then you destroy the Texans. Again, anybody that doesn't have the Vikings this high is just being a hater and being disrespectful to what they're actually doing. They've earned this spot. Number 2, we're going with the Kansas City Chiefs. Similar to last year in that they're just finding a way to win. But that's what good teams do. They find a way to win even when they're not playing their best game. When you have 15 throwing the ball, you can really make a lot of mistakes and keep yourself in it. But I cannot give the Chiefs the top spot like I've been giving them, because by far, the most impressive team I've seen to this point, it's the Buffalo Bills at number 1. They look to be the most explosive, unstoppable offense in the league, and the defense is just playing out of their minds. They've blown out the Dolphins and the Jaguars in consecutive weeks. I feel like if you give these Bills a primetime night game, you're just asking for a blowout to happen. I'm kicking myself because I saw that 4.5 line last night against the Jaguars, and I hesitated because I'm thinking, why is it only 4.5? Aren't the Bills gonna murder the Jags? I don't know if Vegas is still figuring things out. I should have taken an alt line there. I should have dropped more money on there. I made a little bit of money, but just know that the Bills are killers. They're for real until further notice. And that's all for week 4 power rankings. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you think of my takes in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And that's all for free football. Take care.